Hello and welcome to another episode of Bahrain Today, where we bring you the latest events and activities as well as local talents and innovations. Before we start, we would like to remind you that we would like to hear from you regarding what you would like to watch, and if you have any inquiries or suggestions, feel free to contact us via email or social media accounts shown below. Today we'll be highlighting Bahrain's food bank, an amazing young pianist, and a lot more right after this. Throwing away good food is like stealing from the table with those who are poor and hungry. Bahrain Food Bank, known as the Conserving Bounty Society, it is a non-profit association that is specialized in collecting and packing surplus edible food from hotels, restaurants, and various private occasions. Let's watch this report for more. With us in the studio, Mr. Ahmed Al-Kuwaiti, CEO Bahrain Food Bank. Mr. Ahmed, how are you doing today?
Good, thanks.
All right, so tell us about the organization and how it all began.
Actually, the beginning is in 2014.
All right.
Yeah, the ideas come from a group of young youth, Bahraini young youth.
Amazing.
In 2014, 2015, we get our license and registration from Ministry of Labor and Social Development.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah. Conserving Bounties Society, حفظ النعمة Society, which is known as Bahrain Food Bank.
Yeah.
It's the first specialized food bank in Bahrain for collecting surplus food and backing them and distribute this food for the beneficiaries.
That's excellent. Actually, I've known about you a while back, and we have contacted you a couple of times. Thank you for what you're doing. I personally contacted you 3 times. We had a buffet at work, and we always have excess food, obviously. And that one time you came the same day. Usually we call you one day before, and you were able to make it that same day. We waited until 2 or 3 o'clock. We called you in the morning, and thank you for what you do. Really appreciate it. Yeah. So how do you feel? How do you feel it can help the community? How are you helping the community?
The initiatives help in reducing the food wastage from collecting the surplus food,
Yeah.
edible surplus food. This is directed reduce the food waste from the municipality landfill.
Yes.
And you know, this is food waste is impact our environment.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we have two processes actually: collecting a process and distribution, process,
which is very tough.
Mm.
I bet. How do you find those people to distribute? So now I know how to find you. I found you somehow. My friends told me about you actually. I even owned a restaurant before a couple of years back, and I called you a couple of times as well. But how do you find people to distribute the food to?
Actually, after we get our license from Ministry of Labor and Social Development, we start directly to sign contract with hotels, restaurants, and hypermarkets. So this help us to. It's not just collecting food from private occasions. We are now working to collecting food from the main
the hotels and restaurants.
The hotels and restaurants and other food company.
And how do you distribute it? How do you find the people to distribute the food to?
Actually, we have we are covering all Bahrain government.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 111 beneficiaries.
Wow, mashallah.
On daily basis, we distribute for them this meal that we are collecting it.
You're doing a tremendous job, thank you.
Yeah, and we found them actually by our social media accounts and also
digitalized world, huh?
Yeah, and also we have a website, BahrainFoodBank.com.
Great.
They can anyone they want to be as beneficiaries, they can go through our website and they can apply for that.
That's great. And how about whoever wants to volunteer? Also through the website, we can apply?
We have many ways for volunteers actually. The first one, they can call us on our hotline.
Right.
And also they can go same through our website, BahrainFoodBank.com. And from the social media channels like Instagram, we are on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all this social media.
That's great, that's great. What kind of response you get regarding donations and volunteering?
As I said that there is many response from volunteering and donations.
Right.
We have we get a big support from many companies and many volunteers. They are participate in our event. You know.
Great.
We have two strategy. We start with the first strategy that we collecting food from private occasions. Then we start the second strategy that we cooperate with the Bahrain Institute of Hospitality and Retail in Barbar, Hatem Dadabai Group.
Right.
And they give us their kitchen for as a soup kitchen.
Huh.
Yeah. And we start to collecting the packing food from food company, hypermarkets, and we take this all as a donation. We take it all this and we do it in the soup kitchen as a cook and packing them. Then we distribute all these meals for our beneficiaries.
So, Mr. Ahmed, you're telling me that you've got more than 110 beneficiaries, but how many active volunteers do you have daily?
As you know, daily, our activity is it's not daily actually. Okay. We participate the volunteers in the private occasion. When they want to be a volunteer with us, right? They can volunteer for collecting and packing food only, not for distribution meals.
All right.
As you know.
So how does the distribution happen then, if not the volunteers?
Actually, we work as an organization.
Okay.
Hafdh al-Ni'ma Society is powered by STC.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing. I know
Um,
a gentleman called Mohammed Belushi. He
he's
works
a,
in STC. He's part of the CSR. Is that one of the people that you've been dealing with?
yeah, we're dealing with.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. That's
And
great.
yeah, our board members, one of our board members is, our chairman is Mr. Abdul Latif Al Rajhi from Saudi Arabia.
Ah, okay.
And our vice chairman is Sheikh Ziyad bin Faisal Khalifa
MashaAllah.
from STC also.
All right.
Yeah, we have
Great.
Layla Janahi and
Okay,
Amal Al Muayyad.
I understand. Amazing. And who is the beneficial from the efforts you make? Who are the beneficiaries from the effort you make?
Actually, this is the added value for our society.
Right.
The added value is the meals that we are distributed for the beneficiaries. We have needed families, and,
Yes.
and also we distribute our meals for labor camps.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
You're doing such a good job, Mr. Ahmed. Thank you. And what do you do to raise awareness of waste food here in Bahrain?
Yeah, our society is doing like many seminars, and we do many lectures.
Good.
Yeah, in universities or schools also.
Great.
And also we start now a campaign with gathering, social gathering, as they call Majalis al Bahrain.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to spread the concept of reducing waste of food. Yeah,
that's great. And how do you see people of Bahrain benefiting from such awareness? Is it making a difference?
Yeah, there is now you see the young
they do listen.
Yeah. Even you see sometimes when you are in restaurant or other food places, when they finish their food,
we take our food with us.
They take their food.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
Yeah,
I wouldn't waste it. No, it's not because I paid for it. It's, you know how much I love opening the fridge and seeing food there. All you gotta do is just warm it up and eat. So I don't have to call a restaurant for them to deliver, or maybe cook something real quick. No, it's over there. Microwave it for 30 seconds or a minute and a half and then eat it. That's the best thing. It's too easy. So do you have any future plans or upcoming events, sir?
Yeah, sure. Our board member actually has an ambition a big ambition actually to many projects that we can do it here in Bahrain. We start for collecting food from occasion, then we start dealing with big companies like BMMI, Fine Foods, and other food companies that that will help us in reduce the waste of food. We have a project now. We are thinking to not just collecting the edible food, untouched food that we can distribute it for the beneficiaries. We are now thinking to collecting the other waste food.
Like what?
Like what you say, when you have in hotels, restaurants, there is a huge remaining of waste food.
Right.
If we can collect this food and with the cooperate with Bahrain's Supreme Council of Bahrain, we can take this food and we can feed the animals and the fish.
Now I understand. Yeah, that's great. Animals, the cows and sheep. And
we can do that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you very much for being with us, Mr. Ahmed.
Thank you.
You have a great day.
Thank you, and I would like to thank you again. We appreciate that you are invite us here, and we're looking forward also to make a campaign as awareness for Bahrain community.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Viewers, don't go away. We'll be right back. Dana Tajer is an outstanding young Bahraini talented pianist. She began learning how to play the piano at the age of 5. This led her to competing up to grade 8 in piano with distinction from the ABRSM exam board. She has been taking part in various competitions, most notably the Young Musicians of the Gulf, YMOG they call it, as a soloist. Her compositional style involves fusing Western classical traditions with musical elements from different parts of the world, incorporating instruments such as the oud and the dumbek into her work. We are honored here to welcome the young pianist Dana Tajer. Thank you for being here, Miss Dana. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Well, I am excited to have you here. Can you please tell us more about you and your passion for music and how it all started, please?
Oh, well, as you may know, I started learning the piano when I was 5 years old.
Yes,
My
ma'am.
first teacher was Candace Samuel Ackhurst from South Africa. She gave me a very, I wouldn't say rigorous curriculum, but it was intellectually stimulating.
Wow.
So it was a good start, but unfortunately she had to go back to South Africa. So then from age 7, I started learning at Bahrain Music Institute.
Right on.
So I've been there since.
Cool. It's so nice of you to actually still note her down and remember her and thank her for that.
Yeah.
That's great. And how were you able to further polish such talent and skill and give enough attention and dedication to your studies?
I feel like because I enjoy music so much that I'm able to fit in the time to practice, even though I still have so much things to do with studies and school and homework as well.
All right. What about your social life? Do you have enough time for that?
I would say so, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I guess it's all right.
Are a lot of your friends also musicians? would
Yeah,
you
I
say?
do have quite a few musician friends, but
Okay.
like they play piano, violin, etc.
Okay. Do you hang out and just do something, play together, all of you?
Yeah, I have a group of friends. One plays the guitar, one plays the drums, and one sings, and we sometimes
Oh.
jam together.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of music are you more into? You as Dana.
Oh, myself, I actually listen to like a bit of everything from classical music to pop music to anything basically. It's not like one specific genre.
Okay. Amazing. And who are the key supporters and how did they further push you forward?
I would say my key supporters are definitely my parents, my
Okay.
mother especially. Yeah, my mother. She's the one who signed me up for piano lessons in the first place, and she's so supportive of everything that I do to this day.
Cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. And you were one of the 10 finalists in the world for the Commonwealth International Composition Awards.
Yeah.
Great. For your music composition, tell us about such participation and how did you prepare for that?
Okay, so around July last year, I signed up for it online. I looked at the advertisement. I put in one of my compositions. I wrote something for it,
Oh.
and they I guess they liked what they saw, and they shortlisted me as one of the top 10.
Wow.
Then afterwards, they asked me to write a new piece. It's kind of, they gave me like a list of instruments. It's kind of like MasterChef. While they give you like the different ingredients for in
Right.
this case,
Yeah.
they gave me the different instruments. They told me the violin, the flute, the cello, and various percussion instruments
Oh, wow.
like the
And
drums.
then?
So then I had to use them and write something. So the end piece was something I called Setantani, which translates to 70 years.
70. Why 70 years?
Because it's the 70th anniversary of the Commonwealth, and this was the Commonwealth International Composition Award. So
Ooh.
I thought about and kept that in mind. So
Amazing. Who told you about the competition?
my mom.
All right. Got to be very thankful to your mom. And you don't only play, but also compose. Tell us about your style and what you've composed so far.
Well, my style I would say is it's various different things. It's not just one genre. Like I do many different things. Like my recent one, the 70 years one, was more classical.
Right.
Whereas I've also done a fusion piece, which I've called Al-Classiqi Al-Arabiya. Like I've used local Bahrain music. Like I've used the oud and the dumbek, like it said before.
You should definitely do your own CD or like your own stuff, since you already compose, and sell them out.
Yeah, yeah, that's
should.
actually a dream of mine. I do want to like maybe put my music up on like Spotify, etc.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
What's holding you busy?
Yeah, school is.
Well, your mom will help you. I'm sure she will.
Okay.
What's your inspiration for composition?
Basically anything like people playing, like for example in the Bahrain Music Institute, I've seen people like playing the different instruments, like the oud, for example.
Right.
That's and the different drumming styles as well. The different patterns that they use. That's also an inspiration.
Right.
And many other different things I see. It can be anything, yeah.
Cool. And I believe you graduate in 2 years, yeah?
2
So what are
years.
you gonna do in university? You said you're gonna study further. You're gonna further study music, or what would you do?
Ideally, I would like to go to like a top college
Okay.
for music, and then maybe come back here and improve the music scene over here.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So Donna, we were about to end the segment. Is there anything you want to add before we conclude the segment?
I would especially like to thank all my teachers in school as well as at the institute over the years.
All right.
And I would like to give a special shout out to Dr. Mubarak Najim, who's the founder of BMI.
Amazing. You know Anissa, his son?
Yeah, I do.
He's a good friend of mine. Yeah.
That's cool.
Cool.
That's really nice.
All right. Thank you, Donna. You have a good day now.
Thank you.
Guys, that was a great segment here with Donna, but don't go away. We'll be right back. They say that a reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only once. Our upcoming guest cherishes every book she reads and decides to share her love of reading to the world. Joining us here in the studio is Dr. Mariam Zira, the owner of Book Nessie Library, to share with us her passion and love for reading. How are you, madam?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great. So you didn't tell me you're a doctor?
Yeah, that was. It's a bit of it's just an aside.
PhD or medical?
A medical doctor.
All right.
Yeah.
What field are you in?
I'm right now in the beginning of my training. I'm working in the United Kingdom, and inshallah, I'll be a pediatrician.
That's good. So my first question, my real first questions of this day, talk to us about your love for reading and when did it all start?
So I love to read books, and I find it's a strange question. People ask me why I love to read, because it's like, well, why do you love to watch TV? Why do you love to watch movies? For a lot of different reasons. Not every book is very different, so I can't even say that I love all books that have ever been written. Obviously. Yeah. I read books because I enjoy them, and yeah, I get a lot out of books.
Good.
That I couldn't get from any other resource.
Oh, definitely. I totally agree. You know, they say, I keep on telling my friends, I get high from intelligent conversations. I don't necessarily read intelligent books, but when I do, I get high. You know what I mean? And especially the books that speaks to the soul, the self-development books that are soul-searching and all that. I love them. One of my favorite books is by Eckhart Tolle, The New Earth. It talks a lot about the ego, which really helped me a lot in life, in treating, in how to treat people and how to treat myself. And I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorites. I've read it 3 times in the past 7-8 years. It's amazing.
I've read a similar book. It's called Ego is the Enemy. By I think Ryan Holiday. Again, I talk about it on my Instagram account, you know, follow me, Books Nesai. So it's just about how much ego can have a role in your life and how much it can actually stop you from doing whatever it is that you really want to do.
And being yourself, right?
Sorry?
It stops you from being yourself.
It stops you from being yourself.
You think
it's a distraction.
Yeah, it is. It is somebody else.
It's
like
somebody else.
You're Mariam, and there is Mariam's ego.
Mariam's ego. I hate Mariam's ego.
So how can reading inspire us in our daily lives?
Like you said earlier, someone who reads lives 1,000 lives, and someone who doesn't might only live their own life. I think reading can inspire you to look outside of yourself
Right.
and it can inspire you to empathize with other people.
Right.
So, for example, I don't know what it's like to be a middle-aged woman who is married and has children, but I can really empathize with women of that category because of the books I read about women who deal with that.
Yeah,
And it's
totally
the
agree.
same with people who are dying at the end of your life. What's it like? I
Yeah.
don't know. Sorry, touched the mic.
But through reading.
Through reading, I have a better idea of what that is and what it's like. And it's the same with race relations. What's it like to be someone who is persecuted against? What's it like to be someone who is poor? What's it like to be someone who doesn't have opportunities in life? What's it like to have to go every day hungry and not understand and not know where your next meal will come from?
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, I don't have to experience that on a daily basis, but I do understand the perspective a little bit more. Not
Yeah.
fully, of course, but
Obviously.
I understand it a little bit more because I've read about people who've gone through different hardships
Right.
than I might have gone through.
Right. So, what's up with these 3 books next to you?
So I have these 3 books next to me because they asked me to bring in a few books that I just wanted to talk about. These 3 books are a perfect example of books I would recommend to almost anybody. I'll talk about these 2 books at first because they actually mean a lot to me. So the first one I want to talk about is Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. She is also one of my favorite authors, and I guess we'll talk about that in a bit. I've read this book so many times because I read it when I was going through a tough time in my life, and it really took me outside of myself, and I really needed that, and I got to think of someone else's problems instead of my own. And I read it so many different times, and I was really annoyed when I first read it, and I loved it, that I didn't have a copy with a beautiful cover.
Oh.
So then my friend got me this book as a birthday present.
With a beautiful
With
cover.
a beautiful cover.
All right.
So that was my friend Ghaida Shami. She got me this book because she knew how much I loved it.
Thank you, Ghaida.
Thank you, Ghaida. Another book I wanted to talk about is The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls, and this is an autobiography about her life growing up in poverty in America, and what's it like to live every day with that amount of struggle. And
These things are heartbreaking.
they're heartbreaking.
Huh.
But she also talks about how her relationship with her father has been and how much she loves him, even though he hasn't done much to provide for her and her siblings. And again, I love this book so much that I've read it multiple times. I've gotten my mother to read it. I've gotten almost everyone I know to read it. It's one of
Right.
those books that, you just kind of shove into people's faces, like, please read this.
Please read this. Right.
And I actually had 2 copies of this book before this one. One of them I gave away as a gift to a friend, and then another one I had given away as part of a World Book Exchange, and where it was an Instagram thing where you put up something on your Instagram account, and then when someone sends you something, then I think it's like a forwarding situation. So I sent one of those books to someone else.
To somebody you don't know.
To someone I don't know. I can't remember who I sent it to.
Right.
But then that just meant that I didn't have any copies of that book anymore. So then another one of my friends got me this book for my birthday.
Oh, great.
Thank you, Faris Ghannam. So that's something else I wanted to talk about.
Cool.
And I just realized that all the books I brought were actually gifts from friends. But this last
sweet.
book, this last book,
Means they mean a lot to you.
They
Not
mean a
only
lot
the
to me.
read, the actual. It's sentimental just because somebody got it.
yeah, and also it just shows that how much my friends know that I value books, and they know me, and they know what I might like.
Right.
And then this last book is called It's A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman. This one I didn't read before my friend gave it to me. My best friend gave this to me, and thank you, Khulud. Thank you, Khulud Ahmed. So she got this for me, and I just quickly read it, and I fell in love with it.
Right.
And it was one of those books that I was, again, shoving into everyone's faces. Guys, you have to read this book. And
What's it about?
It's about a old man in, I think, Sweden. And he's talking about, he's basically this grumpy old man, and he hates his neighbors, and he's just annoyed at them. And then he's just...
Is it a comedy?
I found it really funny. I found it really funny.
It sounds funny.
And then he's just talking about his life intermittently in between different things that are going on in the present. And it's beautiful. It's funny, it's heartbreaking. I think it's made me cry in public.
Oh, wow.
And it's one of those books. It's again, you're like, don't make me cry.
Speaking of crying,
Yes.
I'm not kidding. I run. I love running, and I'm always electronic. I have my diary on my phone, and like I log in on my computer and can write in my diary. I've got a Kindle, so I read books electronically, right?
Yes.
And when I go to the gym, because I run, I put the Kindle on very big font, like 10, and then I run while I read.
Yeah.
And I get so emotional when I run, when I read while running. I could cry. I laugh out loud, and people look at me like, "What is this guy
So you're
doing?"
just running with tears streaming down your face.
That or the other way.
Or the
I
other
get
way
too
around.
emotional for some reason. It just touches every single, you know, I don't know how
Yeah.
to explain it, but it's a
Yeah.
beautiful feeling.
It's beautiful.
It
It
is
really is
beautiful
beautiful.
feeling. So, speaking of which, so you've got a library, yeah?
Yes.
Tell us about that, please.
So I have always wanted to open my own library.
Yeah.
Always, for as long as I can remember, to the point where I'm not even sure exactly where it started. But the earliest documentation I have of me wanting to start a library was in 2007 or 2008, when I was 12, 13 years old. And that was the first time I put pen to paper and I said I wanted to open my own library. And I had so many different ideas of how I was going to do it. I wanted huge buildings, just filled with books. But right now I have a shelf, that's where I'm starting. And then after that, when I moved to my new house, my friend Khulud had reminded me of this, that when we first moved, I was talking about how I wanted to open a library, but I wasn't sure how, and I wasn't sure where, and I wasn't sure about any of the logistics.
Right.
And then a few years after that, in 2014, again, I put pen to paper and I was like, okay, there has to be a way to do this.
Right.
Because it was just difficult, because where will I get funding? Where will I find the space?
Right.
Does anyone even want it? Will anyone care about a library service? Do people read? I don't know.
Right.
And then finally in 2019, Higher Grounds Cafe had just opened, and one of the owners had spoken to me because they knew about my book Instagram account, and they know that I love to read, so they just asked me if I wanted to open a book club with Higher Grounds Cafe.
Huh.
And I said no. I didn't want to open a book club. And then it was almost word vomit of a precise proposal of exactly how I wanted to run my own library. All I wanted was one shelf. I will let the staff know exactly how to run the system. I already had a website ready. I already had all the books cataloged. I already had everything, every little detail thought out and ready precisely on how I wanted to start it. So they just looked at me like, yeah, sure, we can do that.
Oh.
And that's how the library at Higher Grounds Cafe had started.
So you're not, you don't have to be there full time, obviously. That's why you have time to go to work in England.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. At least one dream came true.
One dream came true. One dream came true.
Inshallah,
Yeah.
more.
Inshallah, more.
And so, who's your favorite author, and what type of genre do you usually lean to?
I read, again, almost every type of book. I read fiction,
fantasy.
non-fiction, memoir, autobiography.
Right.
The only one that I am a little bit cautious about is fantasy and science fiction, just because it's very difficult to build a beautiful world.
Right.
It's very difficult to think of something outside of the box that will be new and interesting and different and fully engaging.
Yeah.
So I just steer clear.
But off air, I did recommend something. You have to read it.
You did recommend.
It's mind blowing. I'm not kidding, and it's not like the show. It's
Okay.
very different. Like especially after book 3,
Okay.
it's totally different. And there are only 5 books, but you love every single letter you read. I'm not kidding. And so how has social media helped you spread your passion?
Before opening my Instagram account, I was talking on YouTube a lot about my books and the books that I loved, because I didn't have that many people in real life that I could talk to. So it was just me talking about the books that I loved and which ones I would recommend. And it was really nice because I got to connect with people that I wouldn't have otherwise met. And then that became quite difficult just because medical school is not easy and I had to spend a lot of time
I understand.
studying.
I don't know how you have time now.
I don't. But anyway, so then I realized that I wanted to talk about so many books, but I just didn't have the time to make videos.
Right.
And then I thought, why don't I just make an Instagram account so I can talk about literally whatever I wanted.
On the spot.
On the spot. I didn't have to put too much thought into it. On the go, I can post something. And it's helped me meet a lot of readers in Bahrain.
So, what are the current favorite books? You discussed those. And what would you like to say to book readers out there?
Well, I love the reading community. I love the people who care about books and love to promote books. But there is one thing I would say is a problem, and that is the pretentiousness that comes with reading books, that feeling that you are better than someone else because you have read a book. And I personally don't like that. I think that books should be open and accessible to anyone who wants to read them.
Right.
Why don't you read an abridged version? It doesn't have to be the full version. To be honest, a lot of classics are boring. Why not get the shorter version?
Yeah.
And if you're not enjoying the book that everyone else is talking about, you could just stop reading it.
I agree.
I know it's a crazy idea, but you don't have to finish a book, which is something else that I feel like
Well,
people
I'm sorry,
need to
I'm
to
sorry,
know.
but I finish a book and tell them I hated it.
Good to know. Good to know.
Hate's such a strong word, right?
Hate is a strong word. Hate
I'm
is a strong
sorry,
word.
but I don't like it, okay?
That's
I don't
fine.
hate
That's
it.
fair. My advice to everyone, so people ask me lots of the time, how do I read more books?
Right.
Because even though I have very limited time and I'm very busy, I still manage to read a lot of books in a year. So in 2019, I read 60-something books.
MashaAllah.
Thank you, thank you.
Impressive.
Thank you. Again, some of them were graphic novels, some of them were
Okay.
shorter, but then a lot of them were a lot longer. So people ask me all the time, and I tell them that they should not read books they do not enjoy.
Right.
If you are not having a good time,
Okay, I read around half of that. I read 37 books. And
good job. That's a lot. You said you didn't really read that much.
no, I read a lot.
Okay, you read a lot.
I'm
All
telling
right.
you, I run a lot. I
You
read
run a lot and you read a lot. Okay, all right.
And listen to audiobooks as well.
Oh yeah, I listen to some audiobooks as well.
Whenever I'm at the gym pumping iron, I listen to self-help books because I don't enjoy reading them so much.
Yeah, yeah.
But if I really enjoy it, I'd read it afterwards.
Okay, all right.
Well, all right. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. That was a
Thank you.
very interesting segment.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thanks.
having me.
Our pleasure. Viewers, we have reached the end of our segment, but don't go away. We'll be right back. That's all for this evening. We have reached the end of our episode, filled with great segments with our passionate and innovative guests, right here on the set of Bahrain Today. If you'd like to be with us on the show or have any questions, don't forget to contact us via our social accounts shown below. Goodbye and God bless.